This is Sybert signing into Red Alert 3 on the map Burnt Out Paradise with a Allied mirror matchup, but it will be an Allied FFA mirror matchup starting out with Diversity's Orpheus as the yellow allies and GodOfWar as the red allies, C9Q9MD as the green, and as the Cyan we do have eladelad. I don't know who that is. Their name is quite complicated. We do have Twitch, or rather Twitch, since that is a TheFakker or Fakker, whatever he wants to be called, and Akise as the orange allies. So we'll, of course, be seeing absolutely craziness since it's an FFA. We'll be seeing craziness since it's all allies, and we will be seeing what is likely the result of massive amounts of lag. But that is always fun. C9 will most likely be going for his almost, at this point, patented dual MCV play, which it seems like he goes for in every game that he plays allies, which he does play allies a fair bit. We do have a fair amount of pressure coming out from Orpheus. It looks like Orpheus is going for a quick kill for whoever is in this position. I think the spawn positions were random. It's quite unusual if they are not random. However, GodOfWar is going to be moving out his MCV, and our Cyan player is currently just playing a little bit standard, which can be very dangerous because if you do not play super aggressive, you can find yourself dead. However, Akise is going to be going for that airfield. And what is Faker going to be doing? Moving his MCV, possibly getting himself an expansion. He doesn't have an airfield just yet. He went for lots of infantry. We still have no movement out of Orpheus. However, C9 could be moving his MCV to the front lines. If he's able to crush a lot of infantry, that could completely crush Orpheus. The scouting dog is waiting by, and already tier 2 cryocopters are out for Akise, going to be sending the MCV to the front line. GodOfWar has spotted this. Could this be a turret push? There's no way there's another MCV out at this point. No, there is no second MCV. However, this could very well still be a turret push. It is going to be possibly crushing a lot of infantry. Peacekeepers will be getting stopped. Will be stopping this MCV, and the MCV desperately trying to rush in here. I think it could have been an MCV capture or sell into capture, but running this far over just doesn't make sense. The MCV is over here. There's way too many Peacekeepers to make it a viable strategy, and there's nothing building, so it looks like a suicide run. And a really terrible suicide run. Normally with a suicide run you want to accomplish something. This did almost nothing. I'm actually completely confused by that. We do have possibly their first big actual attack from Orpheus. Going to be moving out in the game. C9's MCV is already off to the right side. Going to be moving out a couple of engineers, probably to secure this oil derrick over here. I knew it was there somewhere. We do have tons of Peacekeepers, and they're like, well, what do? I guess we'll shoot the MCV out on the water. Already up to those 2 MCVs. A third one is likely to be added on. And we got to keep an eye on eladelad down over here. Eladelad. So Elad down there in the bottom, because as you know in FFAs, one of the things that winners sometimes do have is an opportunity to sit back, macro up, and just build whatever they want without any pressure. So yeah, it would have been far more efficient to just sell off your MCV, and looks like Faker is going to be setting up his MCV kind of on the low ground. He's got the armor facility up and working, but he does spot some aggression from C9, or actually it's not even aggression right now. 1 Peacekeeper and a couple of engineers doesn't actually count as aggression. C9 going to be grabbing that observation post just to get himself a little bit of extra scouting, and you think with 6 players and FFA we would see a lot more action here. The action is going to be beginning with GodOfWar engaging here. He's got Javelin Troopers on the backup, and definitely enough Peacekeepers since he did wreck the MCV of Akise, and that barracks is going to get taken out quite quickly. All of the Peacekeepers were able to lock down that dog. A few of them did get locked down themselves. GodOfWar even going to be bringing a dog in to get in on the action, finally bringing in something to shoot down the walls. However, C9 rocking dual MCV can deploy walls way too quickly for that to be of any real effect, and this is going to be out for Akise. I actually have no idea why Akise hasn't left this game yet. There really is nothing for him here unless he's got an ace up his sleeve, which I doubt he does. C9 going to be controlling relatively well with those Riptides, keeping them both alive against this huge mass of infantry. Which one are you actually doing? No, what are you doing, Orpheus? You could have totally engaged right there. You had an opportunity to essentially one-shot that Riptide, as all of those Peacekeepers together would have very likely taken down that Riptide in 1 or 2 volleys. And then that would have been 1 less Riptide for C9 and a slightly less of a threat for Orpheus in the long game, and C9 playing it just like he should. He's getting himself up a lot of expansions, and this is often what wins him some of these games. He plays FFA like he's supposed to play FFA, and it's possibly because he loves FFA so much. So we do have Akise has been defeated. GodOfWar making the correct move, which is like, hey, you know what? I've already got my 3 and 4 ore nodes about to be set up. I might as well take 2 more on the opposite side of the map. It'll give me a ton of income, and maybe at that point he can contend with C9, but do not take your eye off of this guy. Eladelad will very well have a powerful army in the next couple of minutes. He's setting himself up some expansions. He's got the corners. This is a great move. Sitting back, letting the guys on the top side just kill each other is almost always a good situation to be in. We do have 4 Riptides going to be controlling relatively well by C9. And we do have the barracks over here, which the Riptides have to be careful because they want to take down the barracks, but they do not want to get crushed by the MCV. Oh, C9 letting that MCV get dangerously close there, but as you can see, splitting his Riptides quite beautifully, throwing down the multi-gunner turrets, and he will be able to protect that, or he will be able to take down that boot camp and kill anything that's outside of it, as well as protect his own refinery. And look at that, the great control of C9 going to be taking out that turret almost immediately. Multi-gunner turrets being very powerful, however, they're not too powerful when they're dead. C9 going to be chasing away that MCV. GodOfWar continuing to power lots of infantry. We desperately need to see possibly a dual armor facility, a transition out of GodOfWar. He's continuing to power off lots of infantry. He does have his airfield down, but will it be enough to curb the tide of C9 and also to curb the tide of Faker? Faker does have those Athena cannons already out on the front line. Needs to make sure that he's utilizing his infantry in this upcoming battle because he is definitely going to need it. He doesn't have the numbers that GodOfWar does, and this MCV could very well be going down. We still only, actually only having 3 expansions, which is a pretty low number for an FFA such as this. You want to be in more of like a lad's position where he's almost got 5 up and running. He does in fact he has 5 right now, almost has 6 up and running. If I could count, that would be marvelous. The MCV about to go down for Orpheus, so it could be 2 players getting eliminated relatively quickly. Throwing down, that's kind of an interesting placement for the multi-gunner turret because you want it to be able to protect the engineer as it comes out of the barracks to be able to save the MCV. Well, never mind. The MCV does get taken out by C9, and I was like, you want to be able to protect the engineer so you can save your MCV. No, just kidding, because C9 snipes the MCV right there. That was actually just, I could not have planned that better, and almost I wish I would have, but simply that timing was way too good from C9. Good Vindicator snipes. Of course, he does have that advanced aeronautics. Going for dual airfield is a solid move. And man, this map just does not lend itself well to that action, which simply isn't happening as much as you might expect it. We do have the dual MCV play. I was wondering how he was able to deploy those multi-gunner turrets and those barracks oh so quickly. However, mass Vindicator bombings, going for those civilian structures is always kind of an interesting choice, because on one hand, you're going to be losing Vindicators for it, but on the other hand, it is so nice to take those out and eliminate that from your enemy's arsenal. They no longer have these strong fortified positions that you just have to kind of throw troops at and hope that you break. They're just free defenses for your opponent, and that is not good. GodOfWar getting a little bit testy here. He's angry because he's being lasered from space from a distance. And as you can see down here, we've got the mass conglomerate of units, just way too much stuff from eladelad to be not engaging anything, and I think possibly too much infantry. He needs more tanks, I would think. Although more tech can also be a pretty good thing. And oh, of course, very awesome targeting through the rocks. They made such a big deal about the whole high ground advantage and not being able to, you know, shoot at stuff that's on the high ground when you don't have vision, but you can still get your little targeting laser and shoot straight through the high ground. Affects the Athena cannons none at all. Although, I mean, really, if you have the ability to shoot a laser from space and, like, bounce it off of a satellite, then you should probably be able to hit something on a ledge, on a little bit of a plateau. We do have the cryo shot used possibly prematurely there, but oh, GodOfWar is going to be getting a little bit of choked here. Not as bad as it could have been. We do have 2 engagements going on. Never mind, it's really just this down here. We do have the good cryocoptering from God of War, and this is one of those situations where the cryocopters, because they're stopping these units from doing the damage, it doesn't even matter that God of War isn't taking them out immediately. And look at this, God of War being able to crush right through here. Superior numbers may very well win him the day. Kind of hard to tell actually who had more units there for a couple of seconds there, but the definite cryocopters are going to be lending a huge victory hand to God of War. He is actually going to be engaging over here with Orpheus, who's desperately trying to get himself up some more expansions with which Orpheus hasn't actually been able to do a whole lot in this game. And look at that, God of War going to be crushing through, very likely going to be bringing the end to Faker, who really was a faker. Split your units, God of War, no, he's going to be losing possibly a ton of infantry. He does have them surrounded relatively well, which means it'll be hard for Faker to get anything through the defensive lines to get to those cryo-frozen infantry, and that ended up not being a deal at all. That was basically not even a real move by Faker. That was actually did essentially nothing except for use up that support power. But, oh, Faker will be escaping off to the side. Although, where can he actually go? Everything has already been taken, mostly by C9. C9, the only real contender, is Orpheus. Orpheus needs to be typing in the chat, hey guys, let's have a temporary truce because C9 is out of control. Because, I mean, FFAs are just sort of his thing. That's just sort of what he does. FFA, silly games, crazy games, and has way too much fun with it. The first big engagement from eladelad is going to be in the form of dolphins and even a hydrofoil or two just to be able to eliminate any sort of contest. They will be going down. Oh, completely wastes that precision bomber. I don't actually remember what it's called, but that is exactly why he brought the hydrofoils along, was for that special ability, that gun jamming ability, which is oh so good. God of War trying to find something to kill with all of his infantry. God of War going to be cementing himself in a relatively strong position. The MCV going to be getting targeted because it cannot fire, so what the heck. Good control by Alad. As you can see, he's using his units to cut off that MCV to really mess with the AI and the pathing of the Sage engine, which was a huge mistake for C9 losing that MCV. Not a huge mistake because he probably has at least a dozen more on the field. But anyways, C9, he did lose that MCV, which is he is not going to be happy about. Could we be seeing a Tanya drop? We do have the Sentry Bomber right over there. That aeronautics upgrade getting thrown down, and now the base has been established for Orpheus. We could be seeing the back end of his base be getting taken out by God of War's massive army. And the big three powers in the end game will most likely be C9, God of War, and Alad, although Alad doesn't actually have all of that much stuff considering he hasn't had to engage. Do not be fooled, those palm trees and wonderful vegetation and the delivery truck are all Mirage tanks. And, yo, look at that, a fully heroic dolphin. How often do you actually see that? Not all that often. It's just kind of neat, though. They have that red concussion waves, which are oh so cool. And actually, Alad going to be kind of expanding up here. He will snipe the MCP with his multi-gunner turrets. Oh, Faker gets kicked out of the game right there. He was like, yep, I am done. Throws his table outside of the window. I don't even know if he's in a room with a window or if he's near a window, but instead of just flipping the table, he actually picked it up and threw it out of the window with the rest of his computer. And that is, of course, why they call it Windows, because it works so wonderfully when you just throw it through a window. C9 going to be possibly moving in for a big engagement. Oh, I can't tell because infantry, or armies just in general, they'll be moving out and then suddenly they'll see their opponent back. Yeah, I really don't want to engage. And then you're like, yeah, we're gearing up for a big battle. And then everyone just stops, turns around and says, no thanks, we're done. I really do not know what the purpose of this. Orpheus is going to be heading into the back of C9's base. I feel like one Riptide isn't going to be good enough, and if it's loaded full of infantry, you better have 5 Tanyas in there because that is what you're going to need. Okay? An engineer capture? Like, what? Why would you even do that? That's such essentially a waste at this point. You captured C9's oil derrick. You're not going to be exactly bringing his assault to a halt. You're not going to be ruining his wonderful economy by capturing that oil derrick. You will be mildly annoying, though. Oh, God of War, and actually, Alad are going to be engaging a fair bit here. Lots of Riptides from God of War going to be throwing down. I think that, yeah, that is God of War going to be throwing down I don't think I've actually ever seen those dolphins. They look so majestic in slow motion as they're flying through the air, getting shot down by the hydrofoils. I don't know that I've ever actually seen that particular engagement with the hydrofoils shooting down those dolphins. Good use of that cryo shot, cryo blast, or cryo get it by C9, and he snipes down Riptide after Riptide, God of War, and Alad trying to engage, but I think Alad will actually win that engagement. C9 controlling oh so well. We've seen him use Riptides and infantry and just avoid those crushes so well. A lot of players do falter in those same exact places. C9, even in a crazy FFA. I love this oil derrick. Why did you do that? I have no idea. But you will be slightly annoying. You will forever be slightly annoying. Oh, Orpheus. He's going to be running his MCV, trying to find a safe haven, and he will find basically none, as God of War, ooh, it does have a bugged prospector right there. Needs to get that one back to work. Needs to throw down an additional refinery as well. You got 15,000 credits already sitting there, and tons of Mirage tanks going to be engaging. This is a Tier 3 battle for the day. This is a Tier 3 battle of the day of this match. Tons of infantry streaming in. If any Athena cannons get the target on them, that could be devastating. However, Athena cannons on the front line will be made short work of by Alad's army. Alad simply does not have the units that he needs. There is absolutely no micro going on in this battle, as God of War is going to steamroll his way through Alad, and I thought Alad might have a chance in this game, but God of War is saying, oh no, oh no. You do not have a chance. And no, Tanya is actually going to be able to do a ton of damage. However, will she be able to do a lot of damage versus the massive army, and especially the cryocopters, which just freeze her down? Already used the time belts. Alad did. And oh, there goes that precision bomber, going to be getting a kill or two. Hey, look at that. He got himself 2 peacekeepers, which will definitely, that's like capturing an oil derrick in the midst of C9's army. I think C9 is going to be able to take this game. When you have this much stuff and this much economy, even God of War cannot stop you at that point. C9 known for crazy games, known for crazy tactics, and this was just an action-packed good time, but I am almost ready to call it at this point. God of War played well. Alad tried to play the long game, tried to come out on top in the end, but there's actually, oh, there is a naval yard over here, which means an MCV could be rebuilt, and the expansion could be happening. Yeah, there's naval yards in the corner, which that's one thing God of War doesn't have, is any sort of real strong water presence. C9 looks like he's going to be building up his own water base over here, getting Riptides, getting Dolphins, but does he have the tech that his opponent does? Actually, I don't even know if these are up to that Tier 3. I would think so, but these Sentry Bombers could have been flown over from here, and I think a Tanya drop in the main base of one of these players would have been a good idea, such as in this base. Could have been hugely successful, although dual armor facility could end up waging war against a Tanya quite effectively if there were Mirage tanks coming out of there, which actually God of War hasn't built a whole lot. And again, Sentry Bombers, it's a nice touch, but ultimately I do not think it'll be winning Alad the game. And for whatever reason, Orpheus is still in this game. He is like, hey, I'm never going to give up. I'm never going to let you down either. 4 Apollos are desperately trying to chase down those Vindicators, but C9 has so much stuff, and deciding to stay with those infantry, which when you've got that many infantry, you can't even really crush them effectively with tanks. It's just you've got too many to really be taken down very easily, and tanks are good. But man, oh man, are infantry cheap and easy to produce out of multiple barracks, all at the same time. You just hit shift and you click about 400 times, and then you walk away for the rest of the game. That's Command and Conquer macro for you in a nutshell. Okay, do not take that. That was not a good quote to take out of context. However, at least in FFAs, oh, a great cryo shot by God of War. Can he capitalize on it? Actually, what is that? How did none of the stuff over here actually... Oh, okay, it will actually be that black hole armor what ended up saving the day for all of those infantry. I was very confused by that. Even better cryo shot by C9. Can he capitalize on that? That's the real question. Those frozen laser beams from space are absolutely crazy, which actually I guess it would be like some sort of a subtractive heat ray. I know what I want to say in my head, but I do not know the words for it in real life. C9 desperately trying to work down the MCV of Orpheus, and Orpheus going to be running his MCV around. GodOfWar desperately trying to push C9 back, and certainly eladelad has taken a ton of damage, but he's not technically out of this yet, much like Orpheus is not technically out of this yet. But C9 has just got so much power. He's effectively almost got the top third of the map on lockdown. He's expanded to the old base of Orpheus. Actually, he's still in this game. He hasn't quite quit just yet. Oh, sniping down a Riptide. A nice, very small kill versus the army of C9. So many infantry. GodOfWar is like, hey, I'm not doing too bad. I'm not doing too bad at all. C9 took my base, but I've got a pretty big infantry army. Oh, crap. That is so many infantry. Even the Riptides out from the water and the aircraft carriers trying to get in on the action. Assault destroyers rolling in at the last moment. They are going to be activating that black hole armor to try and save the MCV. The MCV getting repairs to try and save itself. However, oh, here comes the counteracting Apollos to deal with any sort of... Oh, never mind. It won't deal with any sort of aircraft from C9 because C9 has his own army of Apollos. I think he has 8 Apollos just in that swarm. And GodOfWar has been thwarted. His attack has been denied. And he's doing massive amounts of damage to the infantry army. The large infantry composition of C9 and Aegis Shield is a wonderful ability, but you cannot survive on it. The EMPs from that aircraft carrier will be locking that down. GodOfWar has been defeated. C9 will most assuredly win this game. At this point, it's almost guaranteed. Massive Vindicators and massive amounts of bloom from that one explosion, because why should not the bloom add together to make one giant eyesore on your screen? I do not know, but the MCV is desperately trying to rebuild. Orpheus is saying, hey, I really want to rebuild my base. I really want to stay in this game. I really just want to survive and to thrive, but he will not. He simply will not be able to. C9 is slowly going to be working his way down on this map, slowly eliminating basically everything from it and eventually settling himself on eladelad, as eladelad will likely be crushed. He has no absolute ground control, and C9 has the economy to push over and over and over and sacrifice army after army. There goes TheGore, aka Orpheus, as far as I know. Although, given the fact of how many Smurfs players have, it's very possible that someone smurfed as Orpheus or aka Morpheus just to fool me and just to be a little bit annoying. We do have a fully heroic sentry bomber, which will get eliminated. Will its dying body? Yes, it does! It crashes into the aircraft carrier. Brilliant crushing by... as if he could do that, as if he was like, yes, I'm going to call in my pilot just before he gets killed and tell him to crash into the aircraft carrier. I'll do precisely that. He does have a bit of an accent. Don't make fun of him. You have an accent as well. Oh, I don't even know where this is going anymore. Wow. I don't know what I'm doing with... Oh, with the hydrofoil, getting the free kills on the Apollos. It's a nice touch. Once again, just nice little hints and accents from eladelad, but he doesn't have any real meat. He's got like some cilantro on the edge of his plate, and it's like, hey, that's a nice little accent you got going on there, but you don't have any real punch. And I'm not talking about fruit punch either. You just don't have any real heft to your army. And on top of that, I mean, C9 is taking over the entire map on land and at sea. Someone put a, like, what is it, 2 lanterns in the window, or maybe it's 3 because you have to signal both land and sea. So I guess Paul Revere never thought of that, or whoever told him to put those lanterns in the window. American history jokes because reasons. Air Assault Destroyer is going to be roaming itself away, going to be rolling itself away through the waters as all of those aircraft, all those little MiGs, I guess they're not really MiGs, that would be a bit communistic. Oh, don't be silly. It's kind of crazy that even the black hole armor will affect those top secret protocols and just bring them over, and oh, this is so annoying, although using a hydrofoil weapon jamming ability really doesn't do a whole lot versus when you have, you know, 5 little jets coming out of each aircraft carrier. You got multiple aircraft carriers in this small little expansion. For Elad has survived for quite a little while, but I mean, C9 is going to be taking this game, so let's just go ahead and fast forward a little bit. There we go. Elad has been defeated. We all knew that that was indeed going to be on the way. However, let's take a quick look at that resource grab. Oh, goodness. Oh, Akise getting locked out in about the 4 to 5 minute mark. And then after that, it was Faker, followed quickly by no one else because the rest of them really wanted to keep themselves in this game. And Orpheus trying to stick around, trying to be the guy from that one game where everyone was like, hey, he came from behind. But Orpheus, you simply couldn't do it. C9 proving himself the troll and the silly player once again. However, 25 minutes wasn't all that bad. This is going to be Sybert signing out. I hope you enjoyed this ridiculous game that had no purpose.